Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. 2 years ago, I made a video explaining why I dislike French sunscreens. And to be honest, I could have made similar videos on European or American sunscreens in general. But since I am French and I currently live in France, it made sense to make that video about French sunscreens. Especially because I am 41, but I've been using sunscreens since I was 20. So it's been 20 years of trying different French sunscreens. So I am pretty sure that I have enough experience when it comes to it. And my conclusion during all those years was that I have been disappointed a lot by those French sunscreens, unfortunately, because of many reasons. For instance, most of them contain fragrance, and as you know, if you watch my channel, I have very sensitive skin. My skin can't handle fragrance because it does break me out. Also, many French sunscreens contain alcohol, and my skin reacts the same with alcohol than fragrance. Another example, most French sunscreens also tend to leave a white cast on my skin complexion, even when they claim that they should not. I will put a full list on the screen so you will see other things that I don't like about French sunscreens in general. Sometimes I find one of those issues in a sunscreen, but usually it's a combination of those issues. Usually it's leaves a white cast and it has fragrance, or it has fragrance and it has alcohol and it leaves a white cast. So it is very complicated, and that's why I made that video 2 years ago. Now, those past few years, sunscreens have become worldwide way more popular, and as a consequence, the formula of sunscreens have evolved a lot, including among French sunscreens. And there are two French brands in particular which I found interesting in the way they reformulated their sunscreens. One of this brand, as you can see by the title, is the French brand AVENE. When you go on AVENE website, you can see that they have so many skincare products, way too many in my opinion, but they also have many sunscreens. So I decided to focus on the new generation of sunscreens they have formulated those past few years. And among those sunscreens, I focused on the ones who do not contain any fragrance and do not contain any alcohol. And in the end, I came up with 4 sunscreens. The first sunscreen I'm going to talk about is the Avène Intense Protect fragrance-free for sensitive skin, babies, children, and adults. And it is waterproof. All of those sunscreens I'm going to talk about are all waterproof as well. For this sunscreen, Avène does not tell us if it is for oily skin or dry skin or combination skin. There is no information about that. This sunscreen, as you can see, comes in a big packaging, which is 150 millimeter, which is close to 5 fluid ounces. So it is a sunscreen that you can apply in the body and on the face, but in my opinion, although the packaging is bigger than a regular face sunscreen, if you are an adult and you apply this on your body, it's gonna go by very quickly. So I think that for the body, it is good for children and babies. We call it a fluid sunscreen, but in my opinion, the texture is more of a creamy texture, which is not thick, but still more creamy than fluid. When you apply it on the skin, although the cream texture seems light, when you look at it, when you apply it on the skin, it is very rich and very nourishing and very hydrating, like the brand tells us it is supposed to be. And I've applied this on my face, and for my oily skin, it is way too hydrating. My skin looks oily when I use this. Now, I've watched many reviews on other people, and people who have dry skin seems to enjoy this texture, and if you have very dry skin, you will probably enjoy it even more. The second sunscreen is called the Fragrance-Free Fluid Ultralight, and in my opinion this one is creamier, so it's more solid than this one. So I would actually call this a cream texture as well. They have another sunscreen that they call cream, so maybe the other sunscreen is thicker than this one, but still this one has a creamy texture, not a fluid texture. And for these sunscreens we have the information that it is made for normal and combination skin. This one has a similar price, it is a little bit cheaper, but it is also much smaller than the previous one, since it is 50 millimeters and the other one is 150 millimeters. So this one is 3 times smaller, but it is the size of a regular face sunscreen. And when you apply it on the skin, it is moisturizing, but definitely less moisturizing than this one. So I agree in the way that the texture is, that this one is more suited for normal combination skin. It is not oily, my skin is not greasy in the end, it's not mattifying either, it is a regular moisturizing texture. The last one which I'm gonna review today is called the Ultra Fluid for Sensitive Skin, and it is also mentioned invisible on the bottle. So this one also comes in a 50 millimeter packaging, which is the regular size for a sunscreen. Here they say again that it is good for sensitive skin. They don't say if it is better for dry skin, combination or oily skin. But when you look at the packaging from this sunscreen in Spanish and Italian, because I came across it while preparing this video on the internet, the description on the packaging in Spanish and Italian is different. It is written pieles normales a mixtas, which means in Spanish that it is made for combination and normal skin type. And also on the packaging it is mentioned that it is supposed to be ultra matte. Now, I must say that it is something that annoys me with Avène is the fact that the description of their product is very inconsistent from one product to another. Sometimes you have the information on which type of skin it is made for, sometimes you don't have it. Sometimes it is mentioned that it is invisible on the packaging, and over time it is not mentioned. But when you look at the website, they are all supposed to be invisible. They are all supposed to be good for sensitive skin as well. So this one, per their description on the Spanish and Italian packaging, is good for normal and combination skin. This one, per the regular packaging, is also good for normal and combination skin. And this one does not have any information on the skin type, but I can tell you that it is better suited for dry to very dry skin. On their website, from the same line, Avène has another sunscreen that they call the Cream Sunscreen, which is also fragrance and alcohol free. I'm not reviewing this product because although again there is no description for this particular sunscreens, it seems more suited for dry skin, which is not what I have. For the first sunscreen, which in my opinion is better suited for dry and very dry skin, I was interested about this one because of the big packaging. This sunscreen can also be used on the body, so that's why I decided to give it a try. It was the first sunscreen with this new formula, so obviously I was intrigued. For this one, the texture reminds me of a fluid. It's more runny than this one or the previous one, definitely, but they call it ultra fluid or ultra light. I will call it fluid. I've seen and used sunscreens that were ultra fluid. For me, that is not the case of this one, but it still has a fluid texture. And as you will see on the screen, it is way more runny than the other ones. Now that you know all about the texture, I'm going to apply one of those sunscreens on my face. I decided to apply the Ultra Fluid so you see how it looks and if the claim invisible stand. So here you can see me apply the right amount of product that is required in order to get the SPF 50 protection from the brand. Some people could think that it is too much sunscreens, but in reality that is what you need on your face if you want to apply the sunscreen the proper way, and I always apply it the proper way with all of my sunscreens. The texture, as I said, is light and it feels good on my oily skin. It does not feel too moisturizing, and I really have nothing bad to say in the application and how it feels on the skin. It is definitely good for the normal combination skin, but if you have oily skin, you can also work with it. Now, all of those sunscreens claim to be invisible, and all of those sunscreens, when you're done applying it, look the same as this one. That's why I am only applying this one for you to see the final result, because the result is going to be the same in terms of how invisible or not invisible it looks. And at the beginning, when you apply it, you can definitely see a cast. And when you spread it on the skin, obviously the cast starts to disappear, but on my skin tone, it never fully disappears. The funny thing about this sunscreen is that depending on the light, the cast looks more or less visible. If I have the sun in front of me, the cast is almost non-visible, but depending on the light, if I am in the shadow, the cast is more visible. I remember seeing another black YouTuber a while ago describing the same feeling with another sunscreen, and now I totally understand what she meant. So is it invisible on all skin tone? No. But at the same time, I've tried these sunscreens on my collarbone, and as you can see, my collarbone is lighter than my face, and on my collarbone it looks invisible. So if you are black, but if you are a few shades, maybe 3 shades lighter than me, then on your skin tone it might be invisible. So this was the Ultra Fluid sunscreen. The fluid is very similar to this one, except when you apply it. The texture of this one is thicker, so when you apply it, it is less enjoyable for my liking. It takes more time to rub and spread on the face, on my skin tone, but in the end, when you're done, in my opinion, it looks the same as this one, and it feels also the same. AVENE also tells us that those two sunscreens are good to use as a makeup base, and I also agree with that. Now, obviously, if you have oily skin, it is always better to use a primer, but still, by itself, it looks good under makeup. And I am wearing today the Ultra Fluid sunscreen under my makeup. But I've tested those sunscreens several times, and I did it while using the sunscreens one on one side of my face and the other one, and the makeup looks the same. Although the texture of those sunscreens is different, it feels the same on the skin when you're done, and it looks the same under makeup even after several hours. So for me, if you hesitate between those two, the question is more, do you prefer a creamy formula or do you prefer a light formula? Because the price is also very similar. For me, as the brand tell us, those two sunscreens are perfect for normal and combination skin. But I would say that those two are actually good for every skin type. Depending on the season, I think that anyone can enjoy this sunscreen. If you have dry skin, you can still enjoy those sunscreens in the summer, maybe after applying a moisturizer, but I'm sure you will like it because they are not mattifying and they are good base for makeup. This one always good for dry skin and very dry skin. I don't see how the texture can be the best under makeup. If you have oily skin in the winter, you might really enjoy it with or without makeup. And actually, I've tried this one already in the winter and I enjoy it the most in the winter. But for me, as I said, I have to use it under makeup. But now that I have tried this new sunscreen, I think that I would prefer this one because of the texture as I explained, which is more enjoyable to apply on oily skin. So perfect for me under makeup in the winter. It's also good in spring and fall. And then in the summertime, it's okay, but you will have to use a primer before you apply your makeup because it is not mattifying. And anyone who has oily skin knows that in the summer, it is a struggle. So if you can find something that is matte, it is the best option. And those two are not mattifying, despite the Spanish and Italian description. I would not say it is mattifying. The finish under makeup is not matte, is not soft matte, but it's not greasy either. So yeah, I think it looks good. It's more of a glowy finish, but a glowy finish that is not oily. And today, for you to see how it looks under makeup, I didn't use a primer, but since I have oily skin, I do use a primer with most of my sunscreens, unless they are matte sunscreens. But if you have oily skin, you know that 99% of sunscreens are not matte. For oily skin, when you look at AVENE website for this same line of sunscreen, they do have a sunscreen that is made for oily skin, but that sunscreen contains fragrance, which is why I chose to not test that sunscreen. One thing that I do not like about those three sunscreen is the fact that the packaging gets dirty super quickly. I hope my video was clear and it was not too much all over the place. It is difficult to review three sunscreens at the same time, but if you have any questions about anything I have said, please leave them in the comment section. I'm always happy to get back to you. And before you choose to buy one of those sunscreens, I recommend you to wait for my next video where I am going to review another French brand. And after viewing that video, you will get all the information you need to know about the best current French sunscreens. Thank you for watching this video and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye!